Every year on November 11th, we celebrate Veterans Day, a day set aside to celebrate and honor those who have served our country. We are proud to carry on this tradition by recognizing those members of the Washington Hospital family who have served in the armed forces.
I enlisted in the armed forces because I was lacking direction out of high school and I needed a place to find myself, so to speak, a place to learn, be responsible and accountable.
I think in the time when I went in the early 60s, it was the thing to do. I think it was a young fellow. I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. I was in college and didn't know where to go and no direction. So the service provided some structure and new directions.
Well, when I was about 18 years old and I was getting out of high school, trying to figure out, what I wanted to do with my life and where I wanted to go, I knew that I wanted to go to college and that was really important to me, but I also didn't have the resources to go to college. So I thought it was a good place to start and go and get money for college.
I enlisted in the Army because I was unsure what I wanted to do at that point in my life, and the Army gave me that opportunity to be trained, and I still, to this day, am a biomedical equipment technician because of the training that I received from the Army.
I originally enlisted in the Armed Forces back in 1980 because I was 17 years old, no jobs around where I lived at, small town in Northern California, and interest rates at that time had jumped up and there was nothing available. So I went and joined the military and made a career out of it.
I think it's always been my dream when I was growing up to join the military. And at first I was thinking of joining these special forces, but because of my belief in preserving life, I was thinking, well, I still want to join the military, but not in the combat aspect. So I thought, well, maybe the Air Force would be ideal because we're mainly a support group.
I enlisted in the Navy as a way to get trained in the medical field, and it sounded like a great opportunity to get a good experience and learn a trade, really.
I was in the Navy. I was in 4 years active, 20 years reserve, and I was stationed on a destroyer out of Mayport, Florida, DD 942, USS Bigelow. My whole goals were to spend 30 years in the military because I grew up in the military.
I'm Dr. Robert Pipkin. My rank when I was in the United States Army was captain. I spent 1 year in the Mekong Delta with the 9th Infantry Division. You're eligible for the draft as a physician up to age 35. And one of the last things I thought that I didn't want to happen to me was to be drafted, say at age 28 or 29, midway through my residency, and have to interrupt my residency at that point. And I was sent down to a place called Dong Tam, which was a base camp of the 9th Infantry Division on the Mekong River. That 1 year in Vietnam changed my attitude about myself and my future more than any other year of my life. There's no question about it.
Serving in the military taught me a lot of things. It taught me a lot about honor. It taught me about discipline, respect, pride in doing a good job. And I just learned so much being so young and growing up in the military under that kind of discipline and that kind of responsibility.
Serving in the military gave me, as a young person, a lot of discipline, a lot of patience, understanding, gave me a value for equality.
The rewards for serving in the military were multiple. I learned responsibility. I learned accountability. I learned a great skill that I could use in the civilian world.
To me, serving in the military, I think that's where my critical thinking for nursing started at. And because I was in a Green Beret, and it's a lot of critical thinking there, you know, on the move. I think that's what helped me out a lot, was the military and on those lines. You meet a lot of people, no matter where you go. You meet all, and you learn about different cultures. And I believe that helps me out a lot.
What did joining the service do for me, the Air Force do for me? It kind of helped me to mature in life, the maturity in a mental aspect, physical aspect, and it gave me a perspective that I am definitely blessed being in a country like the United States, the freedom that it offers me, and I wanted to protect that freedom.
I would not have the job here at the hospital because I would not have all that education if I hadn't joined the military. So the military was very good to me for education, and certainly the hospitals benefited by the education that I got through the military. So it kind of worked both ways.
I think it's an important part that the hospital recognizes the people's commitment, and I've seen several employees who, since I've worked here, who've been called to active duty, and the hospital has stepped back and actually supported them. And that's rewarding to them because they have families they have to support, and knowing that the Washington Hospital is behind them and there to support them makes a big difference.
I think it's great that they extend benefits for people that get deployed. I was actually here at the hospital when I got deployed the second time, and I was gone a year and a half, and I got to use some of the benefits, and I'm grateful that they hire people that are veterans and understand how, you know, there's a lot of experience and leadership there.
Back in 2009, I was deployed to go to Kosovo. While I was in the process of having that happen, the hospital extended me several benefits, which put my mind at ease. Having those benefits extended to me told me that Washington Hospital cares about its employees, and especially for the veterans that have to serve their country. That really helped me get through the experience.
The veterans deserve some recognition, and for the whole country to set aside a special time date so that I can say, yes, I donned that uniform and I served my country, and to be able to set aside a date to honor people like me and the rest of the veterans around the country, it's wonderful when that time of the year comes.
This country was built upon people who served to protect what we have today, and that is still there with veterans or people go in the service today. There's a pride in supporting your country that just can be overwhelming to you.
I don't think veterans get enough respect throughout the United States. If you haven't been in the military, if you haven't been around the military, if you haven't studied the military, I think you kind of forget how important the military is to keeping the United States stable. The military is the last line before other countries or other areas come in and invade us, or at least try to change our way of thinking.
Well, it's important to honor our veterans because, as I said, it reminds us that there are those who sacrifice a lot for the freedoms that we enjoy. And I think our country as a whole has had a variety of responses to our veterans when they've returned. Over the last few years, you've seen a really big shift in that. We've been able as a nation and as our hospital to honor those persons that serve and continue to serve even when we don't agree with the mission.
We've had many, hundreds of thousands of young men and women who have sacrificed their lives for this country. And I think it's really important that we recognize those people and remember them for what they've given to this country, the sacrifices they've made. Our country is in a position where we really are the main defender of freedom, of the various freedoms throughout the world. And it's good that we recognize the sacrifices that our veterans have made.
We greatly appreciate the sacrifices made by the men and women of Washington Hospital who have served our country at home and abroad. Thank you for your selfless dedication to our country.